Good morning, class. So how is everyone doing? Great, good, amazing. That's nice. Have everyone had breakfast? Yeah? That's what I want because I need you guys to be focused and ready and excited for today's class. Right, so before we begin, I'd like to check the attendance list. Wow, it's really nice to see that everyone is present today. It means we can begin our class. Right, in the whiteboard, I've written something actually. Intrinsic structure. And you guessed it right. That's what we're going to learn today. Here's my PowerPoint. Intrinsic structure, intrinsic elements, both are the same. And for today, we're going to be referring to Pride and Prejudice story by the one and only Jane Austen. I want to see hands in the air if you're familiar with the story. Either you have read or seen the movie or, heard about it. Wow, it's really nice to see that most of you guys are familiar with the story. So I would like to ask the whole class actually two reflective questions, especially to the ones that are not familiar with the story at all. What do you think the story will be about, judging from just the title itself, Pride and Prejudice, and the cover of the book? You see there's a girl and there's a man riding a horse, a well-suited man, and who might be Pride and who might be Prejudice? Anyone wants to answer? You may stand up and say your answer. Right, you? Wow, that's a really nice prediction from you. So you're saying that the girl is the Prejudice and the guy riding the horse is the Pride. Well, you're right. The girl, Elizabeth, she is the one that misjudged Mr. Darcy, or the guy with the horse, more well-suited man, who is filled with arrogance or pride. And now we're going to read together. Well, actually not read, just scan. You don't have to pay attention to details, but I just want you guys to get the gist of, not the whole story, but just an excerpt of the Pride and Prejudice story. This is taken from the Elizabeth's first visit to Pemberley, which can be found in Volume 3, Chapter 1. And you may read it now. I'll give you 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. All right. Now that you have read the story, so back to intrinsic elements or intrinsic structure. What is it actually? Intrinsic elements are elements that builds up a story. There are 8 components, and I'm going to break it down to you later on. So these components, they're what bring the message to readers about the novel, the core message, and help readers to analyze the story itself, to better understand the story or the message like I mentioned. The 8 components are plot, characters, setting, theme, point of view, tone, conflict, and symbol. Now we're going to break it down one by one, starting from plot. So may I please have a volunteer to read this for your friends? Yes, you, please read. Thank you. So right, just like what your friend have read, plot is like the sequence of events in the story. Characters and characterization, may I please have another volunteer, probably from the ladies? Yeah, please read. Thank you. So, right, characters are like people or the person mentioned in the story, and characterization is their trait or what person are they like. Right, for setting, I'm going to read this myself and explain it to you. Setting is basically the time and place, or it can be like the environment of the story, where the story takes place. So, for example, in Pride and Prejudice, it's taken from the 19th century of rural England. Next. And as for theme, it is like the central idea or the main message of the story. Pride and Prejudice is like the danger or how dangerous someone can be if they misjudge someone or prejudice. Now, point of view. Point of view is like the perspective from which the story is told. It can be from a first person point of view, second person, or third person point of view. And as for tone, it is like the author's attitude towards the story. It can be witty, it can be funny, or it can be sarcastic or mocking. And as for conflict, it is like the problem or the struggle that drives the story. So for example, in the Pride and Prejudice story, there's like lots of conflicts actually, but one example that we can take is the example of Elizabeth versus her own self and her own pride and misjudgment towards Mr. Darcy. Symbolism, symbol. So basically, what the writers or the author put in the story, sometimes they're not just literal. It can mean something. It can represent something to better support a story. Like for example, Pemberley, or the place where Darcy stays, it symbolizes his own characters. Okay, enough with the sleepy face, because now we're going to play a game, which is a matching game. Right, here is the instruction. So I want you guys to stand up. Come on, stand up. I want to divide the class into 2 groups. Yes, just from this aisle, 2 groups. This is group A and group B. So the game is, I will give to each group 3 different types of flashcards. What are those? First, we have the flashcard of intrinsic elements. Next, we have flashcard of its definition. And we have the flashcard of its example. So actually the game is really simple. You have to match the 3 cards together. And it has to match, like its intrinsic structure to its definition to its example. So for example, I have here flashcard characters. What is the definition? The definition is a person or figure that is presented in the story. And the example is Elizabeth Bennet, an intelligent and witty young woman who challenges social norms. And you have to match this together. So characters, definition, and example. I'm going to give out the flashcards to you. This is for group B. Right, and I will give you only 7 minutes to complete it. And the fastest group with the most accurate answers win. Begin now. Alright, time is up. Hands up in the air. No one is touching the papers or the flashcards anymore. Come on. All right, let me see your answers. Wow, it seems like Group A is winning because Group B, you're actually mixing up something, which is a little bit mistake. So can we all give a round of applause to Group A? Okay, you may go back to your seats now. So for Group B, since you actually kind of mixed up, you actually made a little bit mistake in the examples. Here is the answers. Yes. The other one. You have to be careful on the definition. Okay, now we're going to have a group activity. I want all of you to find yourself a group with 4 members. I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, now that everyone is already in their own groups of 4, I'm going to explain the group activity. So after you guys get into groups, you need to identify intrinsic elements of the excerpts that I am about to give. So remember the intrinsic elements, the 8 intrinsic elements: character, settings, plot, theme, and so on. And then on a piece of paper, you're going to create a mind map after you analyze the excerpt that I'm going to give to you. So you're going to analyze and then create a mind map on the paper. And then you're going to present your mind map briefly. I just need 1 volunteer from each group. Am I clear? Thank you. Now I'm going to give you the excerpt. Each group has different excerpts. So take your time to read and analyze. It's a really short excerpt actually, and you can finish that within 15 minutes. Okay, I see that most of you guys are done with the mind map, but it doesn't have to be really beautiful. Now, I'm also wishing that you guys have 1 representative in each group to briefly present it to the class, starting from this group. Wow, that's a really good analysis that you have there. Yeah, can we give a round of applause for her? And it's a really nice mind map too. Okay, you may sit down. Thank you. Now from this group. Wow, so you actually really focus on Mr. Darcy's character in your mind map. That's really good too. Now give a round of applause. You may sit back down, sir. Now you, this group, right? Nice. Now from this group, you're focusing more on Miss Elizabeth's character. That's a good analysis actually. I didn't get that before. Can we give a round of applause, please? Okay, that's the last group. Moving on to our next activity. We're going to do a role play. And don't worry, this will be your homework actually, because we don't have time to complete everything today. So I'm going to quickly read it out to you. So for this role play, just in your groups, I want you to act out the excerpt that I just gave to you. So each person will take up 1 role of the excerpt, and then together you're going to prepare a role play of the excerpt like I mentioned, and in the next meeting you're going to perform in front of the class. right? So you guys are going to be actors. And while acting the scene in front of the class, the rest of you guys that are not presenting, you are going to pay attention because you're going to answer some questions. What are the questions? Here are the questions. So you must really pay attention to your friends and answer the question. This is the rubric that I'm going to take score for your performance in front of the class. And I will also take score for your answer in the comprehension questions that I will give to you next week. Alright, so that is all for today's class. Thank you everyone for joining today's class. And please don't forget your homework. So, see you next meeting.